Today we are starting a new series, Business Principles 101.
If you just want to replace your income by doing something you enjoy doing, you can absolutely sell some kind of expertise or even sell what you're currently doing, but package it in a business.
If you want to become good at business, a formal education is in no way mandatory. People love the idea of being an entrepreneur or a business owner more than they like the idea of doing business because they want the title without the graft. If the title could be attained overnight, in that case, it's not worth anything, so you shouldn't want it.
I've seen people set up a blog or a YouTube channel and really plow money into it and try and get the production quality working and just get nothing out of it because you can't rely on organic traffic being a thing.
Not anymore, man.
If you just do for a living what you find intensely interesting, then immediately you have a massive advantage over everybody else.
We're not actually that good at business, but we've made 13 years of mistakes that we only made once. I'm joined by none other than Johnny and Yusuf from Propanefitness.com. Welcome back, man.
Welcome back.
Welcome back indeed. Today we are starting a new series, Business Principles 101. We have all had a lot of experience. I've done 13 years of business operating. You've had nearly a decade now?
11, yeah.
11, Johnny? Something similar?
Same, yeah.
It's like 30 years of combined running and failing at business between us.
Lots of failing.
Mostly failing. We get quite a lot of requests for advice for entrepreneurship and stuff like that, and I figured the wealth of experience that we have, both good and bad, could be pretty valuable to people, and there should be some golden stories that come out of this. Also, all of us did business degrees of one sort or another.
Sort of, yeah.
Accounting. What was your actual degree?
Economics.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you did...
Mine was maths and business, both totally useless as far as application, but we can certainly get into that. I think something that's really useful as well of hearing our failings that are to come is that if you ever want to learn something from someone, I think if you've got a choice between learning from someone who is a natural and just struck lucky first time compared to someone who was terrible or failed multiple times and grew into a stage that you've seen this progression, there's so much more to be learned from that person. Like we were saying in Relationships 103, where the guy who's been divorced 15 times knows a lot more about marriage than
the guy that just happened to look into a harmonious one. You always say this about mobility, right? You want to learn from the guy who couldn't get into good squat position.
Bench press.
You
don't want to learn from the guy with little arms. You want to learn from the guy who's world record level, but it's got really long arms.
Grinded it out. Yeah.
Cool. So, where do we start with business principles? I guess, come on, I don't want to hot potato you, Johnny.
You are going.
I'm going to hot potato.
happen.
I'm sorry. I apologise. Also, before we get cracking, in the comments below or message me on Instagram if there's any particular areas of business that you want us to cover, any stories you want us to elaborate on, any advice you'd like us to go for with entrepreneurship or our experiences, or if you need an accountant, I've got a mint accountant as well, so just, magic man Chris Ayres. So, Johnny, what was your first foray into entrepreneurship or business operating?
So I was sat watching TV one summer, I think still at school, perhaps, and used to read T-Nation, bodybuilding.com a lot. Mm-hmm. And clearly remember the thought of that can't be that difficult to do. Like, it's just a website with articles on.
Fitness blog.
Yeah, let's do that. Text Yusuf. Well, I actually started one myself on like blogspot.com. Like one of these like really old now websites that allow you to set up a really bad website. Text Yusuf and said, should we set up a website? We'll call it optimumfitnesssystems.com. And I remember you were super keen, but you Googled how many results Optimum Fitness Systems came up, and it was like hundreds, thousands.
And this is probably what, like 2008, 2006?
Probably before that.
Yeah, 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
yeah.
Like,
so now, Optimum, if you are thinking, there's our first piece of advice. If you are thinking,
for God's sake,
do not call it Optimum Fitness Systems.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was it. And it didn't become a business until 2011.
Yeah.
So, because for you guys, you just started the blog as like, we do fitness. People ask us, when you getting hassled loads about fitness?
Yeah. Well, I think when you're like the the fit one in your friends, in your friendship group, people ask you like, you know,
how do I get big arms?
Way in the morning, 2 scoops strawberry.
Oh, I get cornered in the gym with people being like, "Oh, excuse me, mate, I just because just so you know, I have me breakfast 7 a.m. strawberry, 2 scoops."
I love that. Just so you know, like no context, just just tell you.
And he sat there and he's like, "Well, it's too rude to interject at this point, so I don't have to wait until he makes his point." And then he just takes ages going through his entire day. You're like, "Oh, I have me oats, 30 grams." Scottish rolled oats, and I have 2 egg whites.
Not the instant pots.
No, the rolled ones, and organic.
Low GI.
And you're like, I'm in between sets here.
Some girl outside of Voodoo on Saturday opened every sentence that she said to me. Said about maybe 5 different things. Every sentence was opened with "not being funny."
Oh,
how does I know?
Really? I just assumed.
Dean, make it replay it and then zoom in on his mouth and you'll hear him go, "Not being funny." Every sentence was opened with "not being funny."
Oh.
See, that was just a private joke because we were at a thing where there's a guy constantly putting his hand up and asking.
So I'm not being funny, right? But like, what about what you just said was in any way funny?
Why are you warning us? Why are you like no one laughed, so there was no danger of anyone thinking it was funny anyway.
Like, this is hilarious, but I promise you, it's not intended to be humorous at all. Just a preface.
Early warning system has been activated.
Yeah, it's really weird.
So yeah, that was. What about you, Yusuf? Did you do anything before that?
I used to drop ship batteries on eBay.
What?
Here we go. Excuse me. We need to ring the Yusuf alarm.
Stop the podcast. What was the last? This was when it was on Life Fails when you told us that you'd been going to like Blythe for 12 weeks
for a cult. Right.
So
you've been drop shipping. I bet he's still doing that.
You'd have gone to a drop shipping battery conference last weekend.
That's where you were. You weren't with your girlfriend in the cottage somewhere. That was just a cover story.
I was in the warehouse in Slough trying to arrange a deal for Taiwan.
First principles, man.
Yeah.
Drop shipped batteries.
I've misused the word drop ship. I arbitraged them. But
that's even worse. So you never actually owned them.
Well, I owned them for a short time. So I used to buy batteries in bulk, the little C137 or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
For scales.
Yeah.
I had to buy one recently for my car key.
Oh, I should have bought one off me. I get to go.
Don't you worry, Habibi.
Don't go fucking go petrol station.
I tell you, fuck bastard.
No packaging, okay? Just
no, don't worry.
Coming like a little piece of cling film.
Yeah, that's
with just a pen written
on.
No,
it's good stuff. It's good done. So yeah, I used to buy them in bulk and then resell them on. It was such a ball ache actually. So that was lesson number 1. Time is money, and just because you can make a markup on something doesn't mean that profit is worth your time. Because if you translate that into if you just get a job in a pub or in Costa or something, you'd probably make more per hour with less stress. And so,
what was your markup on the batteries?
It was I can't remember now. It wasn't worth my time.
Not enough to continue doing.
No, just because of the amount of ball achery that.
Yeah.
So talking about the issue of time, I think this paralysis by analysis issue that we came up against, or what me and one of the guys part of the Modern Wisdom Project, Jordan, dubbed the planner's dilemma, similar to the prisoner's dilemma, is a lot of people are averse to starting a business because they would rather plan and think, the perfect business. Whereas definitely we will all agree that a lot of the skills that you learn in business just occur from operating something.
Yeah.
Like just having to deal with the situations which arise as a byproduct of having a business, and they become so robust and transferable.
So great principle for this is idea is the constant and execution is the multiplier. Whereas a lot of people who haven't done something like this before think that the idea is like, oh mate, I've got this really sick idea, but you've got to sign a non-disclosure agreement if you're going to talk about it with me because I'll have to kill you if it. And it's like, no one cares about your stupid little idea because unless you actually execute it well, it don't, like Amazon selling items online. It's not a groundbreaking idea, but it's executed so well that it becomes so. I think that's something that, and it comes into the planner's dilemma because people think that like if they craft this perfect idea, it's like, but actually if they just got moving and doing things and then fail forward into stuff and then you figure out what works and what doesn't.
I think the best description I've heard of business operation is just professional problem solving.
Yeah,
and like all that happens is you are trying to make something continue happening and happen more or faster, more often, or at a bigger scale, and loads of problems happen.
It feels
each time something happens, each time you
oh look, there's a problem. Oh, I've got to find a solution. That's created another problem.
Yeah, it feels like to me controlled falling business. Like someone's pushed you at the top of an infinite set of stairs, and all you're doing is going.
That's what Ben is so good at. So we have a friend who ran a bike company, and he was consulted. He got a phone call the other day of someone being like, "Oh, you're right, mate. Something's gone wrong in the labs. Like the inducer isn't working through the thing, and it's letting off this blue steam." And Ben was like, "Okay, so maybe just try this, and then I'll get Christian to write a bit of code so that it only functions intermittently." I'm like, "Ben, how do you know about lab equipment?" He was like, "I don't really. It's just kind of
just systems, isn't it?"
Yeah. At some point in his history, he's come up with something that links to this. But yeah, controlled falling, man. Like again, a lot of people that think that perceive professionals, high performing professionals, as being good at business, would be so amazed to realize how little of a clue they have about what they're doing. So I was listening to, and this is a really fucking good podcast, and I haven't lost my mind. Logan Paul's podcast. Really fucking. He's got some shite guests on. Like he'll probably have like Nicki Minaj or something.
But even so, fair fucking play.
That's a big.
Man, he had the Real Wolf of Wall Street on.
Really,
like giving sales advice. Motherfucker. So anyway, and he was talking about, all of the guys in the room were talking about the fact that all of them have pitched themselves into meetings with people that are super successful and said that they are the best at social media in all of LA when they've never done social media or digital marketing before. And then they've just had to learn on their feet. Now, I think that you can overshoot, and this goes back to what you were saying about just getting started with something. If you're going to start a business, I think starting small, i.e. I repeat, do not ring me and tell me that you've remortgaged your entire house to start a business when you have no business experience, i.e. start with a low amount of financial liability.
Oh, I've seen that before. It's terrifying.
You've never run a business before and you've put 50% of your net worth into this business.
You see it on Dragon's Den a lot. Have you ever watched those?
People that just go
people
all chips on the table.
When they're asking for investment, they haven't made many sales. It's like, how much have you invested? Like, 100,000 of my own money. I've remortgaged my house twice. You're like,
like there's great optimism.
Well, I've got to pay. Like once I take off the child support and my divorce settlement, painful. Everyone just thinks they're going to be Levi Roots, don't they?
Well, yeah, like the one diamond in the rough success story.
Yeah,
but it's kind of why the Gary Vaynerchuk advice of like, the people asking the question like, I'm 29 and I've got this idea, but I think it's too late to start. And he's like, fuck you. He's like, of course it's not too late to start. It's like, well, Gary, that's fine until it's negligent, until like the person actually doesn't have a really good idea and they ruin their life pursuing this. Like, well, I just need to keep trying and keep investing and keep going. So, but you only know that if you just, it's the Facebook thing of move fast, break it, and then go back to what you do.
So, interesting point here. David Epstein, guy that wrote Range, he said that he'd done an analysis of when the average age of the CEOs of industry-changing businesses. So he asked, what's the average age of CEOs in industry-changing businesses when they founded the company? So not when it went public, none of that shit. What's the average age? And they asked this at this like super starty-uppy Silicon Valley quantified self-vegan bullshit conference somewhere.
Like AstroTurf on the walls, basketball hoops everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And foosball, fucking loads of foosball. Yeah, exactly. Ask this question, and the room was like 23, 24, 25, because everyone knows the Mark Zuckerberg story about he was, I think, 23 when he started Facebook. Average age, 44.
Yeah. I've heard that stat before.
Bill Gates and that era of CEOs seem to play around in a number of different industries before they get to something. But what have they got? Wealths of experience and masses of failures. as well, probably.
Well, even like on a really PG, like BBC level, Dragon's Den again, if you watch that lineup, like none of them are such and such founded a business when he was 18. It was the first business he did and he went on to be a multimillionaire. Like all of them had like 8 businesses that like spectacularly failed. And then the 9th one just went all right.
So as to try and give some of my genesis story, I guess with this, which is a little bit contrary to what we've said so far, the first ever business that I started was when I sat down at my first seminar for uni in Freshers Week, sat next to my business partner, my would-be business partner, said, I'm skint. I've spent all of my money in Freshers Week drinking. This is when like maintenance loan was like 2.5 grand or something in pennies. But then also accommodation was also pennies. Sat next to him and he said, oh, well, there's this company that I used to work for in Leeds called Voodoo. You can come and get a flyering job with me later on. Like, do you want to come to the meeting this week? And then from then we started working together. And that was my first ever business, first day of university, sat next to my business partner, 13 years later, still together.
There's a key difference there though, isn't there, as to why that was successful and the people who quit their job and remortgage their house before they've fathomed an idea, why that was successful.
We very delicately treaded in and moved up through the business. So definitely one of the principles I think that people need to keep a hold of is that if you've never run a business before, or if you're wanting to start a business, you have to, as far as I'm concerned, especially small businesses, if you are a specialist in logistics or something like that, there's no reason that you couldn't, after a lot of time doing logistics, then jump from perhaps management to ownership. That's a fairly easy one. But for a lot of SMEs, my best bit of advice in terms of starting is to learn every phase of your business from the ground floor up.
Yeah.
So the lineage of a typical club promoter would be start as a flyboy, be good at flyering, then maybe become like a senior flyboy where you manage the other PR staff, then junior event manager, senior event manager, city manager, maybe business development manager or something like that, then director. And once you've done through all of those different stages, you understand you've got a bird's eye view of recruitment, of marketing, of HR, of accounting, of B2B, of B2C, all that sort of shit. And then when one of your employees comes to you with an issue, you can deal with it because you have seen every single thing and you've got a process. So there we go. Another principle is as you move through the business, as you encounter particular issues, write down your solution that you gave to those issues. Because now, for me and Darren, again, one of the things that we talk about with our business is that we're not actually that good at business, but we've made 13 years of mistakes that we only made once.
Yeah.
And now we have a process for, there's very rarely that I come up against, and this will be the same. I know it's the same for you guys because I've seen your autoresponder email. That very rarely do you encounter a situation after running a business for maybe more than 5 years, which you haven't encountered before. There's something quite symbolic about that as well, that the vast majority of problems that people believe is this unique curse bestowed upon them alone are actually just really representative of what everyone suffers with.
We get that because we offer business coaching as well. And sometimes you'll get an inquiry from someone that's like, hey guys, I was going to sign up for your program, but my situation is like really unique and different and special. So I need customized. I need something that's more bespoke. And then they describe their situation. And you're like, that is the most standard of standard businesses.
Like you and the other 10 people who emailed this week with exactly the same unique specific. Yeah.
Did you listen to the Tiago Forte podcast? He said that his first ever business was fixing people's Windows XP computers. Everyone had this very unique problem that they came to him with.
You just Googled it.
No. He just did uninstalled the operating system, put it back in, restarted it, gave it to them. It was like, he apparently sat there like really, yes. So like, yes. So what's the problem that you've got? Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, it's difficult when that it does. It's difficult. Yeah, exactly. One solution fits all.
Like there's something to be said for that. Like in offering any service, obviously my background is in delivering healthcare service, but it's the same thing that there is an evidence basis behind, and this is seen behind the wall now, behind when a doctor asks you,
Oh God, this is how medicine works.
Yeah. The doctor will ask you, what do you think it is? Okay. Do you have any particular big worries about
Is that the same? Is that the same as when a policeman pulls you over and goes, "Do you know why I've pulled you over?"
Yeah, it's
Hang on, mate. I'm not here to fucking hamstring myself. Fuck off, man. Yeah, you tell me what I was doing.
like those are the three evidence-based questions.
I ain't no grass, yeah.
I'm not a grass.
I'm not a fucking grass, man.
That will improve like patient satisfaction. Is you just ask them, what do you think it is? Any big concerns? What's your expectation for today? Ice. Now, the doctor doesn't care about your answers. But it's just because it on the data shows that makes people happier. So with service, like what Tiago was doing there, rather than being like, right, don't care, what I'm going to do is uninstall the operating system. Instead, it's like, okay.
So tell me, how is the nut allergy?
And I'm taking notes on it, and then doing what you want, because it doesn't matter to them. It's the black box. Tiago's come in, fixed my computer. I'm happy.
I'd far rather that they didn't even ask me. You just fixed it.
Really?
Because I would rather just feel like
I think
understand what's going on.
I think you're very unemotional when it comes to this stuff. Which again, like being unemotional in business, like
I don't know. I think I am quite emotional.
You're quite transactional with stuff, though. You just want input, process,
I want the outcome.
Yeah,
yeah, but it's idiocy to want anything else.
Because you know that when you're paying someone to fix a computer,
I want to fix
precisely what you're paying it for.
Yeah,
you don't like.
I want this like.
I can imagine you give them the key to the house and just be like,
yeah. I don't want to have a story about it. Just fix a fucking computer.
So yeah,
E-Myth Revisited.
Just thinking.
Basically describes exactly what you've just said.
E-Myth.
What are the three stages? You're the technician when you start.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Who writes it? It'll be in the show notes below.
I can't remember. We'll find.
It'll be in the show notes below. Don't worry.
The entrepreneurial myth. So he describes a situation of this woman who works in a baker's, loves baking cakes. So she's like, right, I'm going to set up my own bakery. Set up her own bakery because she loves making cakes, and then realizes like, oh fuck, like I need to like clean the surfaces, do the books. Oh god, I need to set up all these systems and manage my advertising, and I need an employee. So then she brings someone in to help, and the manager then does everything, hires all the systems, and 10 years later, it's this massive bakery, and she goes in and tries to speak to one of the employees, and the employee goes, "Who are you?" And she's like, she
hasn't baked a cake.
I'll help with this. And they're like, oh no, this is how we do it. And she's lost complete control of the business because she didn't do every step. So that is 101. Like if you look, because I think the most common movement into business for most people is they are doing something, or they see the way something is done and think, I can do that, or I can do that better, or whatever. But they often miss like the rest of the picture.
It's the same as what we talk about a lot here, which is a lot of people want quick fixes. They want the fat loss pill, not to consistently do calorie deficit with some cardiovascular
not the year of
exercise.
dieting.
Yeah. And it's the same for this. People love the idea of being an entrepreneur or a business owner more than they like the idea of doing business, because they want the title without the graft. And unfortunately, the title's only worth if the title could be attained overnight. In that case, it's not worth anything, so you shouldn't want it.
Ronnie Coleman was right all along, wasn't he?
Everybody wants to be a powerlifter,
bodybuilder, but nobody want to lift no heavy ass weight.
They don't. Everybody want to be a businessman.
Honestly, you realise slowly that he is just everything he said. You look at him and think, what a weirdo, but all of it is profound.
banana leggings.
What about nothing but a peanut? What about that?
Precisely.
Like, wasn't anything but a peanut?
That's just this unbreakable attitude of like, it doesn't matter.
He sees the impermanence of life, and it just ain't nothing but a peanut.
Ain't nothing but a peanut.
It's everything's all complexity and difficulty in life reduced down to a peanut.
Yeah,
and it's like,
There's a man about to squat 800 solid ass pounds. And he's still going like, I'm doing two. Like,
Ronnie, don't do
mate, that's really heavy. He's like, no. Like, what a great attitude.
It's incredible.
You should do business mentoring. You really should.
Yeah, 100%.
Have you seen him now?
Ronald Coleman, business mentor. God. Yeah, he's fucked now, isn't he?
But even still, like, I've seen him. Have you seen his YouTube channel? So he like sneaks up behind people when like someone sat at their desk. He's going like,
Well, like RonnieColemanSupplements.com or whatever.
Yeah.
Amazing. Can you imagine being one of the staff that works at RonnieColemanSupplements.com?
Yes.
Can you? Do you think about it?
On edge all the time.
Yeah,
you?
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, is Ronald in the building? Oh, shit.
There'd be a bit of a worry that like
no one knows
he would just run out of cash and not realise. I think that that's how that business would ultimately
I mean,
be run.
I know, having seen the Ronnie Coleman documentary, that he is spending a lot of money on pain pills.
Yeah. It's
Like,
sad.
a lot of money.
It's
Like,
sad,
he is
that, isn't
bouncing off the limiter of how much he can take in terms of pain pills.
He needs to order them in from the UK, doesn't he? Rather than pay £1,000 a pop in the
Why
States.
don't you arbitrage it?
Arbitrage it, yes. You've got access now.
Yeah.
Actually,
Ronald,
also,
please get in touch.
hang
with,
on. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Yusuf's a doctor.
Finally.
Double high five. 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Yes. Congrats, man.
thank you.
We should have done that
Goodness
catch up.
me.
We should have had a special memorial catch up.
For Yusuf's education career. How many years have you been in uni?
11.
Motherfucker. So how many years have you been in full-time education?
Like the vast majority of my life.
Sorry, 10. Yeah. And then full-time, I don't know, like that plus,
Since you were like,
plus the baseline that you have to do.
what is it, 5, 4?
11. No, plus college. So
No, what time do you like?
5 until 18 you did. So that's another 13.
Okay, yeah. So, let's say
Lots.
lots. Now,
I can't believe we broke down all of the elements of the equation to come up with the answer.
Because it is lots, isn't it?
and none of it had any relevance for the stuff that, for any success or failure in
Okay,
business.
so there we
I
go.
think.
There's another one. All three of us did business or business-related degrees.
Conventional education, like,
Sucks
listen
dick.
to Anton. Seek alternative education.
Do you know who I will put in the show notes? I will put
Anton Creel.
I'll put Anton Creel and I'll put Sam Ovens. I will put a Sam
You
Ovens.
put Sam Evans in.
I've put him in already.
Wow.
We have made some ground today,
I'm not going
ladies
to
and
watch him,
gentlemen.
but I'll put him in the show notes. Just
Chris
because-
is a virgin.
or
Sam Ovens. Sam,
one
if
of
you're
the two.
listening, you just need to get laid, man. Like, bad.
His latest video, he's got like long hair and he's a mess. And he's clearly just been in the hole.
in the whole.
No women in it, is there?
There is no women
You
in
can't be a
it.
virgin and a sex offender. Like,
Yeah,
yes.
You can be a wannabe sex offender.
Oh, I see. Or like one of the people with the
Flasher.
coats.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to business. So I think definitely one of the things that we've touched on there, which is super important, is if you want to become good at business, a formal education is in no way mandatory.
I think it's unhelpful because it's a waste of time that you could be spending doing other things. Like the ability to learn and assimilate information is the useful part, but the content that you have to learn in a business degree is useless.
Well,
I did a module in entrepreneurship because I thought
I did one as well.
Did you? It was like I turned up and it was totally misadvertised. Basically, it was like the history of entrepreneurship in the 1930s America, and like there was nothing applicable. You just like
You did a marketing one.
Masters?
yeah,
Do you use that?
masters.
Never once.
Really?
Never once. So the reason that I did a extra degree, a postgrad, was because I knew that the first half was covering things that I'd done in my degree. It was the same. Some of the modules were given the same names that I'd just finished in my third year. Some of them were given, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just repurpose my existing coursework that I did either one of the last 3 years, and then sure enough did that. The only thing I needed to do was a what's the dissertation at the end of it. Yeah, I mean that's obviously how much I concentrated on it.
I can remember you doing the dissertation. I can remember being in the flat while you were doing the dissertation.
Was it that 36-hour period with
Yeah.
the window? Yeah, that was
There's
a
two types of
very
people in this world: the ones who do their dissertation in 36 hours, and the ones who do it in a year.
yeah. I did mine in 36 hours. So
With
yeah,
like 10 Red Bulls and
all the rest of it.
Got it done, didn't you?
Got it done, gone, finished it.
gone done it.
Go on,
Done, done it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think formal education at all needed. Like it's not a prerequisite. If I was to design someone that was going to be good at business, they'd be good at selling,
Yeah.
copywriting, have a good eye for marketing.
It is all just marketing, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've
People,
learned-
you got to be good with people. You got to have good
but
communication
that, so
skills.
all marketing really is communication, isn't it? It's the ability to communicate a concept, idea, message.
But there's different. So advertising and marketing are quite distinct.
Yeah.
And advertising is a important part of your business. But yeah, so formal education. I was doing a business degree and very quickly became disenchanted with academia because at the age of 18, as a fresher in uni, I was being shown one particular world of business in academics and experiencing another. And there was no overlap.
You slowly realise the people teaching you about business have never had any success in business.
Well, what the fuck would they be teaching you for if they were successful in business?
Anton again. We need that clip.
We leave our children in the hands of these fucking failures for 8 hours a day. And
How many of them have had a successful relationship or or wealthy? None of them.
How many of the teachers are millionaires?
So this is one of the
We
things.
shouldn't be harsh on teachers.
No. But teachers,
Because there are some fantastic
Just
teachers.
quoting Anton, I think teachers do a very noble.
this is not. These views do not represent mine, Yusuf's or Johnny's, or that of Modern Wisdom's. They're just repurposing.
Try and
Anton's.
complain to Anton, but he won't get your email and he doesn't care.
because he's got a phone.
His
with
little,
50 numbers in it.
his little Singaporean wife might pass it on to him. I swear he's on Twitter though. Anyway, so yeah, you are right. One of the things that's a little bit weirder is when I look at America and I see you could go learn psychology from Dr. Jordan Peterson, or you could go and learn like evolutionary biology from Nicholas Christakis, or astronomy from Professor Adam Frank.
We're in an incredible age, isn't it? Like you can now just have full access to the best teaching anywhere.
You
all
mean
the time.
in the American
University
system?
education, because all those guys up until not long ago, University of Waterloo still had Dr. Stuart McGill.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Up until 5 years ago, you could go learn biomechanics from Dr. Stuart
But
McGill.
you can do it all online now. That's what I mean. Like,
Well, again, so if you want to find out about that, stay tuned for the week of the 3rd of August. Scott H. Young on his new book, Ultra Learning, will be coming out. I've recorded it, but I can't release it. He said I can't release it. But that's self-directed learning, being able to learn the 4-year MIT computer science program in 6 months, past the exam.
Well, that's an intense month.
No, sorry, in 1 year, past the exams. He was doing 1 module per week and a half.
So I remember I had a lecturer at uni who was basically like best mates with the two guys. There was something called an Arrow-Debreu model in economics. And he was teaching this thing, and then you look at
the man with the small face.
No, that's a different man.
Let's learn about him.
He was brilliant. But you look up on Wikipedia Arrow-Debreu model, and there's a photo of Arrow-Debreu, and then the bloke teaching it in the middle, sat around a table in France having a coffee. But so he's a big dick, but a big dick in what? Theoretical economics. I'm sure to him, and I'm sure in some way that does feed through into progression. But has that helped me in my life?
Yeah.
No, not really.
If your goal is not to be an academic, then it instantly becomes...
An ACA, accountancy qualification, I do think is worth it.
Why?
But you have to view it. So basically, in doing an ACA, you are put into... So you're training to be an auditor, essentially, of businesses. But in that process, if you do audit at an accountancy firm and do your ACA at the same time, then you're spending a lot of time in businesses, usually pretty big businesses. And as long as you try and learn how they're running and see what they do, everything down from how is a new employee added to the system to how do they process a payment, and all the way up to the top of how the financial statements are prepared. You have to want to learn about that stuff. It doesn't get put upon you. But I think that is, of everything I've done, those 3 years were the most valuable. But even then, I'd be clutching at the most valuable thing is everything I've learned about marketing and selling.
Compare that with
From self-directed stuff.
what you've had to stumble through with Propane.
So we started and we had no clue. Not a clue.
How did you begin to monetize? So people will be listening, they'll think, oh, I could do this. I draw, or I sing, or I am good at writing, or arbitraging batteries.
It's an interesting point because when we started, internet was much younger. A year in internet land is obviously 10 years in normal. Yeah. And so we started in 2008, 2009, where by dint of just creating a blog and posting content, it would start to reach the top page on Google.
YouTube 6 years ago.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
podcasts now.
And so if you look at old school YouTube, things like Power Thirst and those kind of old school viral videos that just went
crazy
big because they were the only content on there.
quality.
First mover advantage.
So instantly, by having a website, you suddenly are seen as an authority, and it was very demand driven for us. So we started to get inquiries just off the back of that. So we then were almost spoiled by not having to learn marketing and not having to do anything apart from create content. And
you're just getting organic traffic through the blog posts.
Yeah.
Didn't you write something? Isn't your best performing article on caffeine?
Ramadan.
Say it again.
Ramadan.
Bless you.
Rock.
I rock. No, don't worry, Habibi.
Whereas now that strategy would just absolutely not work, and I've seen people set up a blog or a YouTube channel and really plow money into it and try and get the production quality working and just get nothing out of it because you can't rely reliably on organic traffic being a thing.
Not anymore, man.
Yeah,
I mean, this is your area, and I'm sure we will get onto this. Again, I'm going to keep on rinsing this because this series is new for us. But we could I could leave you guys to do 5 episodes on your own about Facebook ads, paid marketing, how it ties in with organic, all that sort of stuff. This is it,
and unfortunately you have to be a polymath of all of those things. You have to know SEO, web design, marketing, content creation, communication, Facebook ads, Google ads. You have to all of these different moving parts of the business, accounts, operations. You have to really know all of that stuff, at least to a basic level.
Ask Youssef anything about WordPress. Just ask him a question. Or say something like, "Oh, I think this about WordPress." And then you'll either get angry, laugh, yeah,
or do this.
Yeah.
For the listeners, that is a short intake of breath with the lips pursing and then pulling apart. It's like a...
You might see him do it.
Yeah.
If things get heated, you'll see him do it. But I think, so that got us to the point where we were making probably a couple of... So I remember this conversation with someone at uni where we did this blog on the side and we had $4,000 in the bank account. I really clearly remember the amount. And someone went do you guys even, what do you even do? And I'm like, oh, well, we've just made our first £4,000. I'm like, what the fuck? How have you done that?
How did you do that?
So
what were you selling?
We got up to that point.
£12 consultation.
We started right at the bottom. It was $11.99, $9.99.
I think so. Yeah.
So how long were you? What was this Skype call?
That was a week of you got a training plan, diet plan, and coaching for a week.
When someone bought it, we were like, right, open up a document on Microsoft Word.
Oh God!
Write a name. Monday. that was it.
And we 3 of us coached this person at once.
Oh,
and then we had a gold plan that was £100 and a platinum that was £250.
What did you get for the platinum?
That was our YOLO. So
we didn't know.
So this is probably the iconic story of Propane. So driving to the gym one morning, still at uni, on the way to train, boodloom, PayPal notification, £250. Fuck. Right, Youssef, I was like, Youssef, someone's just bought platinum, and obviously erupts into laughter because platinum didn't exist.
What the fuck's platinum? Yeah.
So I then didn't train and had to sit and make this guy, which was basically just my wank log of everything I was interested in at the time. It
was amazing because you drew a graph of the cortisol.
I did have a graph. It was really, it was just I was like, fucking hell, I need to give this guy £250.
What was your turnaround time?
I did it that day.
One day,
yeah,
£250.
Yeah. You pay £250.
That's still.
He wrote his magnum opus just on.
Because I was bursting. It was coming up my pores. This stuff. I read so much about it. But yeah, and then but I think we never really got above. We would never have been able to do it full time the income never really got to any point where it was meaningful until we learned marketing. And the first we spent £1,000 on a course from Paul Mort on how to do email marketing.
And then so you were saying it's a series of problems that you solve.
Yeah.
So the bottleneck was revenue and sales not coming in. So we fixed.
So what was that due to traffic? Due to volume?
Well, yeah, traffic and
conversions.
Both. Right. So we improved both from the traffic. So you improve it from the course, from the marketing course. So then you improve traffic and conversions. Then suddenly you've got revenue coming in, more client demand, but we can't actually cater to them all. And so we end up just getting less and less sleep and taking more sales calls at 2 a.m. to someone in America. And and you can see on the videos, there's a period on our YouTube channel where both me and Johnny just start looking more like that.
Sullen. Have you ever seen Brian Cox go into a centrifuge?
No, but...
Have you seen it? Have you seen
I think I might have seen the video.
Dean, can you make Brian Cox appear in the centrifuge appear just here, please?
He's
Thank you. And his face.
Yeah.
Hang on. Bing, bing.
He won't. Brian Cox is not going to...
Hang on. Actually, someone called us out on one of the videos and said, I swear that you say Video Guy Dean's going to do loads of things that he doesn't do.
Yeah.
Fucking Video Guy Dean.
I guess we'll find out what actually...
So, yeah. You were saying...
So there's a series of problems that solve, and we've solved one bottleneck. It opened up then the capacity problem, the ability to deliver that service to the clients, and we just didn't know what to do, didn't have a scalable operational system to deal with it.
And also we're terrified of putting the price up to bring demand down.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Which we'll get onto, which was Chris's advice for us. And so
it felt like, that exercise, which is like a rope and a weighted ball, and you see people go like this on the wall. It felt like that.
I thought that's what you do at CrossFit.
You think that's what a wall ball is, don't you?
Yeah, wall balls.
You hit the ball on the wall.
Wall ball's much more gentle. But yeah, so you finally, it's like you've been like underneath a tap for ages with a screwdriver, like trying to unplug it, and then you unplug it, you're like, fuck! And then you've got a very different problem of like, the house is going to flood. Yusuf, the house is flooding.
You're right.
I've run out of buckets. We've used all of the buckets.
That's the best analogy, because it's suddenly a problem that you've only got a screwdriver to try and fix the water in your face. And you're like, well, I don't know.
Should I scoop it up?
So you do it really fast to try and and so we ended up sleep deprived and just feeling horrendous.
What year was this?
2014.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
And it was only really having Chris's advice and a series of mentors and business coaches that we hired over the following few years that finally got us to develop a scaled, leveraged approach to delivering service to clients without them suffering. Like, they actually got a better service as a result, rather than them getting like a sleep deprived coach that writes them out a program that they
halfway through Ramadan. Ramadan.
So I think that the business lesson from that is, and I think this is what it took us a long time to realize, is that you don't really, people set up a company and do something really manually themselves and think, I have a business. But if they went on holiday, all of the aspects of the business, from like selling, delivery, everything, stop. That's just a job with loads of risk, like with no holiday pay, no pension, no maternity or paternity leave.
It probably pays less as well.
I work in Cafe Nero, man. So like, I'm my own boss. Like, you have got nothing in the way of systems or an actual business. So for it to be a business, you have to be able to not do the selling, and sales still happen. Not bring in the traffic or the attention, and that still happens. Not actually deliver the product, and that still happens. And only when you like slowly step away and it all happens, like,
that's it. But you do it. It's kind of a little bit, I imagine, or it is for me, like putting a baby to sleep and very slowly stepping out of the room, like the handle, closing it, allowing it to just.
But inevitably,
latch, and then
shut them. Fucking hell! Yeah.
Gotta get back off holiday.
But then sometimes you just hear a thud from inside the room, and you're like, "Oh no,
the baby's falling out,"
or like a loud bang.
Yeah.
What's happened then?
Don't know.
What's happened to the baby?
Like the
frag grenade.
Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six.
Flashbang,
Rainbow Six, straight through the door.
Or like, it's like bang, bang, bang. Oh, police! And you're like, oh my god.
The baby's turned into NYP. So, a couple of good stories to start framing this. I guess the principle, we should probably try and either before or after a principle try and summarize it. And I guess what we're talking about here is the art of delegating, or the art of scaling, because the art of delegating is a massive topic that we need to get onto, which is bringing in people who fill in the gaps in your particular skill set. And that's probably a full episode on its own. But a fairly charming story to do with this is I worked 204 Saturdays in a row without stopping. Didn't miss a single Saturday. So when
4 years of...
Yeah, 4 years. So when we first launched our first ever weekly event, that was to the listeners at home, Yusuf has lifted his leg in the air like a cat.
Had a repair.
You've patched your pants. Right. I mean...
Carry on. I didn't mean to distract you from your story.
Jesus Christ.
Feeling a bit stiff.
That's going to have to be cut out, isn't it?
Just leave it.
And Video Man Dean will have cut all this out by now.
As long as he's put something over your crotch. So, I worked over 200 Saturdays in a row without taking a break. That wasn't just me working on the night time and being kind of the slightly more swan around boss that I am now. That was getting up at 10 in the morning, going to the club for 11 a.m, putting up the inflatable that goes up in the main room, like plugging up
the big goose that you have to
plugging in all of the DJ decks upstairs, like a job which, with a written process, could have taken anyone 3 hours to do, would have cost us 18 quid a week. But oh no, because I was terrified. I was so neurotic about the business. And I think this is something which
You're
is...
like, I can do this well, and if I give it to someone else, they would.
The problem is, if you want a job doing properly, do it yourself.
Absolutely.
Is true.
Yeah.
And the conversation that I had, pardon me, with Stephen Wolfram the other week was a lot of the time, because he understands coding, right, from the ground floor, he goes into Wolfram language or Wolfram Mathematica and just checks out the code. So he'll go on to like wolframalpha.com and just look at the code and just code check shit and debug shit. And you're like, hang on, you're the CEO. 800 people work on this. Do you know who wrote that bit of code? Like some spotty teenager in San Francisco who works off his, like, out of his mum's basement or something like that. Because everyone's remote pretty much in Wolfram. And you got the CEO going in and just being like, he'll drop him an email and be like, oh, just checked out the code. There's a little bit of debugging to be done in here. 10 minutes and he'll do it.
But the problem there is that he has set up his life so that he can do that because that's what he loves.
Yeah.
But that's not the way that most people would want to run a business. They, you know, like he's an odd character because
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very
he set up
unique.
his life so that he can code more. Whereas
Most people want to do it so they can do less.
Well, yeah, like what we're saying about the E-Myth concept is that you graduate from technician to franchise owner, where actually you're not breaking the bread at all. You don't even see the flour anymore. You wrote the process, and then someone else is carrying it out, and you've got people.
I remember
people.
So the day I quit, or maybe like the week before I quit, sat
down there. December time.
KPMG, sat in where nobody can see, but behind the camera in this mystical land of...
This is a set. Let's not forget that this isn't actually my living room. This is a podcast studio built to look exactly like my living room. But that's actually just all open walls there.
It's
and
just
this
black space.
Yeah.
Infinite
We're
black
made
space.
of cardboard, so like it's just...
This is going to become like as famous as like the casting couch, isn't it? So like when someone, you know, in...
I want to come up and
Pornography.
I want to come up and see the couch.
You know when...
I want to sit where Johnny sits.
There was...
You don't want to sit where Johnny sits.
Yeah, there'll just be a big dick.
Huge.
There was
dick.
a thing on Facebook for ages where people uploaded like the famous casting couch set on Facebook, and the caption was like, every guy in the UK knows exactly what this...
Yeah.
You're blanking.
Yeah, you don't know. Yusuf doesn't know what it is. I've seen another one with the real fake taxi that's for sale.
Oh, right.
Lauren was in Fake Taxi. Female Fake Taxi.
What's her stage name?
Sienna Day.
Sienna Day.
Anybody wants to have a watch of some adult entertainment, just
with Chris's mate in it.
Yeah, Pornhub.
She made it big time then.
Sienna Day, she's done good, man.
She's done good.
It's weird
Well
that there's
done,
a hierarchy. That's total derailment. What was I saying?
It's a huge business.
Couch behind there. Oh yeah, sat there, and you said to me, I used to tell people to go to clubs. Now I tell people who tell people who tell people
to go to clubs.
And I was like, okay, I think I understand it now.
Yeah,
but that is actually the goal, isn't it?
The only reason why, if you wanted to be Wolfram about it, was if you really liked giving people flyers.
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, you know what? One day a week, I'm going to go down the Northumberland Street and
give out flyers. But what you would have done then is you would have brought in everybody else that did everything that wasn't giving out flyers. So the business still acts on your behalf.
You have to give out so many flyers though. If you were the only flyer giver.
We don't give that many out, man. Print media's dead.
Okay.
There we go. Business principle, print media, fuck off. No one looks at a flyer anymore.
One of the rotating elastic bands that just fires flyers at people.
Actually, I'm going to do... we can do a little quick fire round. I think I'd started and we've got loads of outtakes at the beginning, so I think we're about maybe 50 minutes in. Couple of things, just some quick principles off the bat. Mail shots through the door, as far as I'm concerned, if you are launching your business, fuck off. No one wants your... Like, if you put junk mail through someone's letterbox, you're probably just either wasting money or damaging your brand.
How do you feel about junk mail, Yusuf?
Absolutely terrible. I mean, we've heard, if you've not heard is it Life Fails, where we talk about...
It was a catch-up episode.
Catch-up, yeah.
On his letterbox, he has written... Like,
no junk mail.
No junk mail, because never has there been a more effective deterrent.
Someone whose job is to give you junk mail.
It works pretty well. The only people that get through are Oteen and Farm Foods now.
Oteen.
I used to have
That one bloke.
Yeah,
You've got a little sack on the other side of your door, haven't
I
you?
have a sack, and I chase people down the road if they.
And then you have a musket, don't you? On a light.
But his goes across the top of the Yeti. Your Yeti that's in there. Actually, you've just got the line of sight is directly
Just the
across the
musket.
top. Yeah.
Single
pot
shot.
shots at people.
So don't do mail shots. Don't do
print
media.
Print media is fucking dead, man. Like, unless you are a club promoter who has one advantage that we have at between the hours of 10 p.m. and 1 in the morning, the only people that exist on the street are our crowd. So our market's been filtered by temporarily and spatially.
Great
like,
open rate.
If you're walking through Newcastle's Big Market or Manchester's Deansgate
Custom audience.
at 12 midday, at 12
translator.
12 midnight, like, you're there because you're ready to go on a night out. And if you're not ready to go on a night out,
Retargeting.
this is an upsell. This is technically an upsell or a cross sell.
I see.
We need to map this out in lucid charts. Really, how it.
But yeah, so print media fucking dead. I would not waste your time with it. That would include big advertising. Like, if you have a look at the price to get a JC Decor, and you've got minimum of like 10 sites, minimum of this many weeks, this many exposures, and it's like, unless you're selling the new fucking Kia Picanto.
That's exactly what that was used for. To a T.
So yeah, I think traditional media with regards to that, like, you can sell so well just off the back of becoming your own brand, and we can move into personal branding, humanizing the brand, all that sort of stuff.
So I have some points on.
Oh, great!
Thanks.
You're just glad he's got points.
Just surprised that you're prepped.
The basics of this, of like, if you're sat listening to this and you're thinking, so this isn't for people who have a business who are looking to improve it. It's for people who are like working.
That'll be next episode. That'll be one of the future episodes.
Yeah, we could do start.
Yep, we're moving through chronologically.
Build, scale, etc. Scale.
The millionaire
exciting.
Scale will be exciting.
Can't wait for that one. Love scale. So people, I think, you know, the whole Gary Vee thing of like, there's never been a better time to start a business.
The best time to start a business was 10 years ago.
Well, yeah.
The second best time is
today.
Yeah.
But I do really think
that's the trading quote, isn't it?
Yeah. The second best time to learn
I
to
suppose
trade.
it definitely applies for business as well, doesn't it?
Well, but it's so easy.
Compounding,
Like,
yeah.
if you just want to replace your income by doing something you enjoy doing, you can absolutely sell some kind of expertise, or even sell what you're currently doing, but package it in a business. So the point I've written here is that people don't do it because they think jobs are the safe route. I have quite a nihilistic view on this, but I think realistically, most jobs will be automated within 10 years. Like, the vast majority, especially shit like finance, accountancy, anything admin, like, realistically is not the safe. Like,
accountancy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's listed. The Economist thinks it's like one of the most likely industries to be automated. God. Painting and like plumbing and shit like that, carpentry, those are the most safe industries. But
so painting, I wonder if they're going to have that drone that comes in a room.
It's just that every room is different dimensions, and people have very specific requirements.
So you use the Dulux app where you fill in certain walls. It detects the walls, it maps out like the lines and stuff, and it just flies around and just.
Why not go orthogonal with this and just everyone get VR to the point where it's such high quality that your VR thing changes the things in your room?
Well, sat in a cave,
if it's that high quality, you live your life.
Just lie in a bed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There we go.
To be honest, I can't wait for that.
Everyone will be so fat.
It'd be nice to have a rest, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd love a rest.
So, sell whatever you're doing. Like, there is an opportunity to do that, and there are a few resources I listen to. So, there's an Alan Watts video. Is that right?
I did not expect you to suggest
Alan Watts' wisdom.
Yeah,
really.
Where he talks about like how to decide what to do, and he uses an example of like, well, you know, if you like what you do, you can command a good fee for it, and you like what you do, and if you do it for the money, that's madness. And so he talks about that, and just basically logically walks you through like why working in a job that you don't like because you think it's the safe route is lunacy. Anton Creel, the clip from that I assume you're going to share.
It's already been in once, but I'll do it again.
So that video convinced me to quit my job.
Why?
He talks about viewing quitting your job to start something in a trading analogy. So he's like, look at your downside and your upside. So you earn 20 grand a year and you want to start your own business. You quit your job. People think I have a downside or I stand to lose 20 grand a year. Actually, you probably stand to lose like 2 grand a year because you could go back into a job for 18, let's say. Your upside is potentially unlimited. So like, let's say you quit and you become the next Jeff Bezos. Unlikely, but possible. Like, never going to happen in your current situation. Might happen if you quit and try. So you're exposing yourself to unlimited upside with it, like a 2 grand downside.
Because then it's like, if you fail after, say, a year,
go back
and you want to go find
grand.
another job, worst case, you can find a job for
a bit less than what you have.
Yeah.
The asymmetry in that particular trade. If any trader saw that opportunity,
take it every day.
Motherfucker. Margin.
So he just says, put yourself in situations like that for the rest of your life and you'll become very wealthy. Very wealthy indeed.
What other bits have you got down there? Have you got anything else?
I mean, I go into like emotional management.
Okay, so
but yeah, so I think I was going to stay in a job that I was told by everyone around me was the safe route because, you know, quitting and starting your own thing is stupid. And
many of your co-workers are still there.
Still there, yeah. And some of them like it, some of them don't. But I think, like, let's say like our parents' generation, like for them to start a business, really difficult to do.
A lot of barriers to entry.
Difficult to do.
Very high friction.
Like you need to produce a widget in a factory and, you know, get a loan from a bank, like very traditional. Now you can essentially sell information digitally and make a good income doing it. So why, if you have an inkling of thinking about it, at least fucking give it a go.
The other thing as well is that most businesses like this, like you did, you were able to do multiple things at once. Yeah, if you are looking to do something that occurs very specifically within office hours, you've seen that in your particular area there is a market for window cleaners, let's say, and you happen to have the expertise or the inclination. You fucking love getting after windows, and you're like, right, but I've got a 9 to 5 in some typical retail store. Okay, you've got a little bit of conflict. Whereas for the most part, what we're going to be talking about here is some small sort of craft, someone's unique skill or a marketing opportunity or coaching or whatever it might be. There's no reason that you can't begin to dip your toe alongside whatever the job is at the moment.
So, and I think so the Alan Watts thing of if you just do for a living what you find intensely interesting, then immediately you have a massive advantage over everybody else. So like the thing I remember thinking was, I remember sitting in the office and I wanted to leave at 5 o'clock because I wanted to train, I wanted to do propane, see friends, whatever. Other people wanted to stay. So I'm thinking like, well, because I don't want to, so immediately like
the odds are already stacked against you.
Yeah, I'm not going to get a promotion. I'm not going to be a partner or whatever. So like, I'm going to go find the thing that I don't mind doing till midnight. That actually I would choose to do.
Because then even if you don't end up in the top 1%,
then it's still great.
Yeah. Did both of you listen to the James Clear podcast? He talks about Steffi Graf. So he talks about Steffi Graf, one of the greatest female tennis players of all time. I think she's German. And
sounds German.
I did listen to this.
So when she was about 12 or 14, they went and did 2 broad area tests on the youth players in the German tennis team. And one of them was on skill and aptitude, and the other was on passion and motivation. And she scored the highest on both. So you're like, right, good fucking luck beating her. Because even if you're more skilled, she'll outwork you at training and catch up and then overtake you. And to her, it'll feel like fun. Another example, Sarah Sigmund's daughter, Katrin David's daughter, one of the fittest women on the planet for the last few years in the CrossFit Games. And someone said to her, how do you find the motivation to do what you do every day? She said, if you gave me any life in the world, I would choose what I'm doing right now. You're like, motherfucker, like you try and beat her. You try and will yourself to beat someone for whom work feels like fun. And that's what James Clear says, that if you can find the thing which to you feels like play, but to everyone else feels like work, you're laughing. And that for me at the moment is this podcast. 10 years ago, for me, it was filling and running clubs.
Yeah.
And if you do it sufficiently well, and we can get onto this lineage a little bit more in future episodes, but if you do it sufficiently well, you can do to a much more successful degree than I have, but you can scale businesses which you have conquered build them to a degree where they're sufficiently self-sufficient, leave them off to one side, and then take the next conquest on.
Yep, do other stuff.
And you're like, right, okay, so fuck it, now I'm going to add a podcast on. Okay, so fuck it, now I'm going to start to do, for me, modelling, or I'm going to start to do, I DJ'd for a while, or I'm going to start to do this or that or the other. But the foundation needs to be a business which you can scale.
I mean, so you can do this within, so like, you don't have to set up a business just in something you enjoy. Like you could, so that, Cal Newport has a book called So Good They Can't Ignore You, which he wrote before all the stuff he's written. It is Cal Newport, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So that he talks about finding, so he uses the Steve Jobs thing of like, find your passion, and how that's actually not correct, and that doesn't correlate with happiness. And actually, if people have autonomy and feel good at something and feel valued, they get just as much satisfaction from a career and a job as they would from a business. So you can, there's loads of examples in that book, but you can get the same thing from that. But most people, I think it's fair to say the vast majority, don't consider work as something that they genuinely love doing.
15% of people do, apparently.
Love it.
15% of people say that they are actively engaged in their job.
Right.
85% of people are either actively disengaged or agnostic.
That's so grim, isn't it?
About work, yeah, man. Especially when you think that's 40 hours of your life minimum every week, plus travel to and from work, plus all of the mincy stuff that you've got to do around it, the
like all the office politics,
social connections, the taking your work home with you.
Nescafe coffee.
Fucking bullshit.
If you take out sleep,
fuck Cocoa Pops, man.
if you take out sleep time, which is you're unconscious, so you can't really count that towards time spent in your life, it's such an overwhelming
50% of your life.
But then this is why like people like on a Friday night just get like battered, because the reality of the situation is just too overwhelming to think about. When you actually really sit and think about it, you just want to cry, so you get drunk.
I want to escape it, so I'm gonna go out this
weekend. People often cry at drunk and then get cry, and then get drunk and then cry.
And then get cry.
And then get cry after that.
Yeah.
And then do drunking. And the Tim Urban's podcast with Tim Ferriss, they talk about happiness. And his definition of happiness is like crushing a Tuesday, having a mint Tuesday.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast was going to be called.
Crushing a Tuesday. Or do I have to go and get Lex?
Do I need to?
Which Jeremy was like, you must call it that. I'm not coming on the podcast.
Come on the podcast and let you call it. Do I have to go and get Lex?
But I think if you don't regularly have Tuesdays where you're like, that was good.
Fucking nailed it.
Then do something else. For the love of God.
Well, I mean, so at the beginning of the next episode, some of the listeners will be familiar with this, but at the beginning of the next Business Principles, I'm going to do the experiment you can do at home where you whittle away your wage down. And I'm pretty certain that if we ask enough questions, we will be able to get you to pay us to come to work. I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to do that. So I think we might as well call it there. That I really enjoyed this. I think that a lot of people are interested in entrepreneurship and stuff like that. As I've already said, if there's areas you want us to cover, fuck me, from like scaling specific stuff. I know a lot of people have actual questions about how to run club promo. I don't treat any of our trade secrets as that secret. Online marketing is available everywhere. If you want to know about Facebook ads, if you want to know about staff management, problem solving, emotional control, how to scale a business, pricing strategy, whatever it is.
We need questions.
Yeah.
If you ask something that's boring to answer in a podcast, we're probably not going to answer it. But if it's something that's like that,
cool. Well, what do you want to know? What is it that you want to know? What questions have you got? Either about sort of personal questions for our particular career history. Give us a message. As always, thank you very much for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Bye.
Dan.